People are strange. Something strange.
Is that strange?
That is strange.
That is strange.
Wow, that is strange. This is strange.
And welcome back to another episode of Strange Sauna. Today we are continuing the saga of the Trump Antichrist connection, okay? And really more of just Trump's role in this whole end times biblical prophecy. If you guys haven't checked out episode 1 and episode number 2, go back and watch those. They're on YouTube, they're on Rumble. Very, very interesting episodes. They're kind of building up to this episode here. Today, we're going to try to get into the numerical prophecy, this prophetic numerology, you know, the gematria of things. But there's a lot to still go over. So this might be a 4-parter. I've said it from the beginning. There's so much information that I want to tell you guys. I just don't know if I could fit it in 1 hour. I'm going to try my best. So, hey, let's get this show on the road. Before we get this show started, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Anything you can do to help this channel grow. Also, if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, download, subscribe to the episodes. It really does help this show grow. All right? Follow me over on TikTok, Strange Sauna Show on TikTok. I might be on Strange Sauna TikTok. Might have to change that because I might get banned. You never know. All right? As long as TikTok's still around, a thing here in America. So, all right, without further ado, let's get the show on the road. Okay, now to start this show out, I really do want to start with this video of Tom Horn. All right, so he was on Prophecy Watchers. Now, I know this is like ridiculous. It sounds ridiculous, okay? But some of this is coming true, seemingly. I mean, what he talks about, Tom Horn, for any of those who don't know, recently passed away. He knows so much about prophecy, the Bible, and he's trying to put modern day just events and fit them into how can this fit the biblical end times, all this stuff, right? You could argue he's doing this to make money off of book sales, off of interviews and all that stuff too. So I totally get that part of the interview, right? But in this first clip, Tom Horn, he's claiming that an anonymous member of Trump's faith council, now remember when Trump joined, or he became the president, I should say, he developed this faith council, and it was like a group of individuals that kind of oriented how he should direct the country and how he should be putting forth executive orders and stuff to be more faith-based and whatnot. You know, that's just my gist of it. I don't know exactly what they did. But Tom Horn is claiming that an anonymous member of the faith council came forward to him and claimed that 2 Orthodox rabbis had a meeting with Trump and Jarod Kushner, stating that Trump was elected because God led him to that point to be an agent of Israel and to help build the third temple. Okay? So check out this first clip of the show here.
A little over a year ago, a member of the president's faith council reached out to me, sent me an email. It's a guy that I happen to know. And he said, I want to talk to you on the phone, but you have to guarantee me anonymity. He said, in the position that I'm in, nobody can know that I was the guy talking about this.
Now, you know how I feel about anonymous sources, all right? They're all bullshit, all right? Until you can prove to me that this person, whoever this was, has some clarification, has some clout, it's BS. However, what this man reveals to Tom Horn seems to be coming true, or it seems to be on the road to becoming true, okay? So I'm just going to put that out there.
So I said, sure, what is it? You know, sounds like a bombshell or something, right? We talked on the phone, and he said, you need to know that a meeting took place here in Washington, D.C., and there were 2 of the senior rabbis from Israel, Orthodox rabbis from Israel, that came over. They had a sit-down meeting with Donald Trump, Jarod Kushner, and a couple of other of the members of the Faith Council.
Now look at this picture. This is the Chabad Jewish the organization, right? Chabad synagogue. That's the main synagogue where they found the tunnels underneath. It was the headquarters in New York City. So it's interesting that they're showing that picture right here. Just throwing that out there.
were in that meeting. Bottom line is he told me quite a bit of stuff which has since started rolling out, coming out in the news, which has confirmed to me that he knew what he was talking about, right? But the big bombshell was these rabbis are in the ear of Donald Trump and Jarod Kushner specifically to let Trump know that he won the election against all odds because God led him to that point so that he would be an agent, a King Cyrus-like agent, to secondly, not only be a friend to Israel, but ultimately, when the time is right, to speak in favor of the building of the third temple, to help the whole idea behind that get wind under its wings. Well, this is just explosive information, right?
It is.
And of course,
It is, yeah. I'm aghast. But yeah, this is the whole point, is that these rabbis came there and told Donald Trump, you were appointed by God. That's how you won. And you know what? Because you were appointed by God, you're going to help us build the third temple. Done and done, right? So, and further clips, I'm going to play some more. It implies that Israel helped Trump get elected because he's going to help build the third temple. All right. And that was something that I'd brought up on the last episode. It's like, how did Trump beat all odds and beat Hillary Clinton? All of the polls showed Hillary Clinton winning by a landslide. It wasn't even close. It was 90-something%. And on election night, everyone was flabbergasted, taken away. How did this man win? Did Israel have something to do with it? Tom Horn is kind of suggesting that, yes, they did.
of course, I had a lot of questions. What was Trump's reaction to that? Is Jarod Kushner playing a role? And he gave me some other bits of information that have come out in the news since. And one of the other big parts of this, which I didn't see coming, he said part of the conversation in Donald Trump's peace plan, which, as you know, is getting ready to come out, like in June?
So I should preface this. This interview came out well before the Abraham Accords. All right. This came out in 2018, 2019. Okay. So the Abraham Accords hadn't come out yet. The peace plan, that's what Tom Horn is referring to. They're talking about this as if it hasn't happened yet, because it hasn't. Okay. Just a heads up. Sorry to keep pausing the clip, but I just have to tell you guys these things.
Part of his peace plan will involve helping Saudi Arabia wrest control of the holy sites in Israel, including the Temple Mount, from either completely away from the Jordanians and the Waqf, or at least some level of dominance over controlling what happens on those, and that will be like a step one, because the Saudis, they're all about making money. They're secular. They're not like the Islamic radicals that are always throwing a fit on the Temple Mount.
Okay, so in the words of Tom Horn, step one of the peace deal is the Temple Mount, where the attacks are coming. You know, you have the Al-Aqsa Mosque. I think I'm getting that right. He is saying that Saudi Arabia is going to take over the land there, take over Temple Mount. It's like, how is this going to happen? Right? And we'll get into that, because Trump is not the only one kind of doing these Abraham Accord peace deals. You have Joe Biden as well, working towards an Israeli and Saudi Arabia peace agreement. Yes, I don't know if anybody was following this, but before the Hamas attacks, you had Joe Biden pursuing a peace deal between Israel and Saudi Arabia, heavily, calling it a mega deal. All right, so what Tom Horn is saying here years ago, before the Abraham Accords, is coming true.
A Jew wants to go there, or a Christian wants to go there and pray, they're way more open to this idea. So I received all that information, actually wrote about it, by the way, in the book. And so people will read in the book stuff that is dated before it has just in recent weeks actually came out in the news, that the Jordanians inviting the Palestinians to join them in control over the Temple Mount. Of course, now they're all in a big fight. And so that may not work out as well as they hoped it would, but specifically because they had got leaked information from Donald Trump's peace plan talking about turning control of the Temple Mount over to Saudi Arabia. And so there was a great deal of information that he gave me there. In fact, he said that Jarod was spending quite a bit of time nurturing a relationship with the crown prince, Solomon. And within maybe 2 months, 3 months, I wrote about it in the book, after that, here comes the crown prince, and he starts speaking publicly in favor of Israel having a right to their own land and to be a nation state. Then he meets with a group of evangelical Christians, and he starts talking about how Saudi Arabia wants to be more open now to the whole interfaith kind of movement and respectful of where Christians. So some of the stuff he had told me privately starts rolling out in the news, and I'm like, okay, this guy was really giving me the skinny on what was happening here.
He was giving him the skinny. Yeah, he was kind of spot on about some of this stuff. Okay. Now, here is the Chabad rabbis in the Oval Office. This was the picture that they showed in that clip, or that was shown in that clip. Right? And these were the same, this was the same Crown Heights tunnels. This is the same kind of group here. The Chabad Lubavitch Synagogue, commonly referred to as the 770 for its address, 770 Eastern Parkway. But this is where they had the bunch of people come in and expose these tunnels, pulled a dirty mattress out and everything. It was very strange. But this whole connection with Saudi Arabia, I just found fascinating. It's like, okay, how can you solve this situation? Because Temple Mount currently has a mosque on it, right? The Al-Aqsa Mosque. You have two different religions clashing for the same land. Israel needs that land to build the third temple. It's currently occupied by Muslims. Okay? So in order for Israel to rebuild the third temple on that land, the Muslims will have to go away. How do they make that happen? Saudi Arabia, if they have that land, or if they take control over that land, if Israel gives them that land somehow, it would seem like, okay, well, at least they're not Israel, who definitely wants to wipe us off the state of the earth, right? So is Saudi Arabia going to be a crucial part of clearing out Temple Mount? I don't know. But if you all remember, Donald Trump's first overseas visit as a president was to Saudi Arabia. He was greeted by King Solomon. And they did like the sword of the dance, or the dance swords and all that stuff. They touched the orb. But this is the mega deal that I was talking about. The United States tells Israel mega deal with Saudis must include concessions to Palestinians. All right, the Biden administration told the Israeli government last week that it would have to make significant concessions to the Palestinians as part of a possible mega deal with Saudi Arabia that includes normalization between the kingdom and Israel. So it has to have some sort of concessions to the Palestinians. So is that giving over the land with Temple Mount on it to Saudi Arabia? Is that part of these concessions? I don't know. But this has been a big deal behind the scenes. And, you know, when you had the Hamas attacks, you had the Israeli settlers attack on the Al-Aqsa Mosque, really pushing things back. Kind of setting this deal back. But it is one of those things that makes you think. You're going, okay, maybe Tom Horn was onto something here. Because this was supposed to be step one of Trump's peace plan, is to have Saudi Arabia take control over Temple Mount. All right, let's get back to the Tom Horn clips here. Clip 2. Now, this one is a doozy, okay? Tom Horn is talking about the success of Trump's presidency depending on his efforts to assist Israel's prophecy. All right? It's a big deal. So he's basically saying, Trump, you're not going to do well. Your administration is going to fail if you don't help Israel build this third temple. Very, very interesting.
What they're extending is the time is now because of Donald Trump. That if Donald Trump, again, this private meeting in Washington, D.C., Donald Trump was told, and by the way, I think one of the people that was there was a member of the Sanhedrin, and I'll tell you why I think that in a moment, because I was told almost verbatim that what this one Orthodox rabbi said was that Donald Trump had initiated a prophetic process, and that when the time was right, it would lead to the building of the third temple. And furthermore, they told Donald Trump, you were only elected because you have this opportunity to do the things like Cyrus did.
Right.
Did you hear that? They told Trump, you were only elected to have this opportunity like King Cyrus did. So what does that imply? That implies that Israel got Trump in.
Right.
And but the success of your presidency and 2020 will depend on whether you will speak in favor of the construction of the third temple. So they were putting a lot of pressure on him. Now, I believe, and it's just a theory, I'm not sure if they presented this coin to Donald Trump in that meeting, but this coin was out around the time of that meeting. And it's, it's sanctioned by the Sanhedrin. It shows Donald Trump and ancient Cyrus on the front, but then on the back of it, it shows the third temple.
It does.
So the message is very clear, right? That what they expect from Donald Trump. Then, some months later, they issued a second coin, a gold one, which basically has all the same imagery. It's got the third temple on it. On the front, it's got Donald Trump and Cyrus. It's also got the golden menorah and some of the other temple things there. But when they put that one out, look what they wrote. And this was what the Sanhedrin included in the official brochure, right, that comes with the coin. And this is just one part of it, but I'll read just this short excerpt. President Trump is advancing a prophetic process that will usher in, when the time comes, the rebuilding of the third temple. It is as if he is following in the footsteps of King Cyrus, who pronounced after 70 years, 70 also being very important and related to where we're at in history right now, that Hashem, that is God, the Lord of the world, charged me to build him a house in Jerusalem. So, many of these rabbis are not even hiding now what it is that they expect Donald Trump to do. And of course, I know some of these rabbis. I've spoke to some of them on the phone. I've corresponded with some of them, and they don't intend on letting up. But most of this right now is behind the scene because of political pressures. Donald Trump wants to get out his, Middle East peace plan of the century. There's things that they want to do first, and what they don't want to do is get a bunch of Islamic radicals or whatever trying to burn down Jerusalem, because they're going to inflame the language and say these guys are coming, they're going to destroy the Dome of the Rock, they're going to defile, the Al-Aqsa Mosque. So they don't want that stuff getting out ahead of the diplomacy that certainly will be needed to try to push forward this peace plan.
So what's happening right now? We just talked about this. The Hamas attacks, the Al-Aqsa storm, the Al-Aqsa wave, whatever the attack was, right? So it's, when I saw this clip, I was like, there's no way. I mean, these insiders, you can say that, anonymous sources, but man, oh man, what he's saying is happening right now. And, when it comes to Israel and owning the United States, there's just a lot of stuff like that. I don't want to try to propagate this whole conspiracy around whatever, right? But that's pretty much what Tom Horn was insinuating, is that the presidency was manipulated by Israel. And if you remember, in 2001, on a hot mic or a camera, Benjamin Netanyahu basically said that America can easily be manipulated, something along those lines. I don't want to phrase it incorrectly, but he basically just said that America is easily swayable. We can take care of America. We can get them on our side if we need to, that kind of thing. And then you had Trump. So Trump was on Ari Hoffman's show, and he says, quote, Israel literally owns Congress. They have so much power, rightfully so, to own our Congress. This is what Trump was saying, okay? So take a listen to this clip.
I've seen in Congress is Israel literally owned Congress. You understand that 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And it was so powerful. It was so powerful. And today it's almost the opposite. You have between AOC and Omar and these people that hate Israel. They hate it with a passion. They're controlling Congress, and Israel is not a force in Congress anymore. It's just amazing. I've never seen such a change. And we're not talking about over a very long period of time. But I think you know exactly what I'm saying. They had such power. Israel had such power, and rightfully, over Congress, and now it doesn't. It's incredible, actually.
And rightfully, Israel rightfully had control over our Congress? What does that mean? Is that good? I mean, does that make you feel like it's the right thing to do? Should another country have control over our Congress members? But another, going back to the Tom Horn thing, so that was just like a side thing about like the control that Israel has. I mean, I'm just saying, like, they have a lot of power. They have a lot of sway. You know? Going back to the second clip, though, that I just played with Tom Horn, he brought out a second coin. The first coin that he brought out, we went over exclusively on the last episode. But the second coin, we never really touched on. The second coin was for the Abraham Accords. You have a lot of imagery that we have to go over, okay? Because it has, like, I think I'm saying this right, the scimitar sword. It's the same sword that you can find on the mural at the Denver airport, the Denver International Airport. I've done a whole episode on this where the murals depict the end of the world, or at least the end of America and the rise of a technocracy, the rise of a new age with the rainbow and it's very, very interesting. But looking at this, the same sword here is on that mural at the Denver airport, and it's held by a man in a gas mask, you know, and he's stomping on people. He's basically taking over the world with this powerful sword. You know what I mean? So I have a couple videos here from Truth Seeker on X, and I want you guys to watch this because he kind of goes in depth about these coins here, or this coin.
President Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu have signed an agreement with the United Arab Emirates. Here on my channel, we focus a lot on symbols, symbolism, subliminal messages. So when I first saw this coin, it really blew me away. This right here is yet another example of the occult forces that work in the shadows in this world at work. It's similar to money magic. Money itself is sigil magic. The New World Order put its plans on paper, and they called it money. Millions of people around the world are carrying this around in their pockets.
For those listening on audio, he's folding up the $10 bill, the $20 bill, the $50 bill, and the $100 bill, showing the Twin Towers and supposedly linking that to a plan that basically says that, yes, they saw this coming and this was their plan by putting the Twin Tower explosions on the back of our money. I don't really subscribe to that, but it's very interesting.
Money itself is a primary example of this sigil magic, lesser magic. So it's interesting that they chose to place this imagery on a coin. Once again, we're back to money. And here they are showing us their plans on this currency. From a very basic standpoint, when I first looked at this imagery, I couldn't help but notice, starting from the base of the symbol as it works up, you see the sword itself starts to disintegrate into all of these different symbols. What's most interesting is the symbol they chose at the top, or it's the symbol at the end of the road. All of these symbols leading to the dove of peace, peace and security, peace and safety.
So you can't really see it right here, but he'll zoom out.
But what comes after that? Saturn. Some of you may not understand.
So he's talking about this. At the end of this road, at the end of the sword, you have the dove of peace, followed by Saturn. Now, why the hell would they put Saturn on this peace coin, the Abraham Accords peace deal coin? Right? You have like needles, right? Associated with the miracle medicine that Donald Trump keeps on endorsing. You have the heart right next to that, ironically, which some heart conditions can arise from taking some miracle medicine. A satellite dish, some gears, some cogs in the wheel, these ones and zero, the binary codes, the satellites, bringing in maybe Elon Musk, Starlink. You have SpaceX here with this rocket ship. Occult NASA, when you're talking about rocketry, Jet Propulsion's laboratory was literally founded by an occultist, an Aleister Crowley Thelemite. Right after all of this, you have the dove of peace and the Saturn symbolism. So what does that make you think of? Saturn worship, Saturn, Satan. You could put all that, the Chronos, Father Time. There's a lot of different things this guy's going to talk about.
Understand the significance of this, but Saturn represents Satan. It goes back to Rome. They worshipped Saturn, celebrating Saturnalia, and the Greeks worshipped Kronos. Same deity, both represent Satan, which leads to the black cube. You also need to understand about the black cube of Saturn and the connection to the Jewish priests who wear the tefillin, or the black cube, on their foreheads. It's also interesting to note that we find the black cube in Mecca. And here you see the Muslims walking circles or rings around the black cube, the black cube of Saturn, Satan. So leading up to this peace and safety.
Okay, so that was part one. We're going to go down to part two. So the black cube, though, I think he's going to talk about it. If he doesn't talk about it, Donald Trump, the Trump Tower. It literally looks like a black cube, black and gold. Trump Tower is all black and gold, just like this, right?
Black cube of Saturn, Satan. So leading up to this peace and safety, and afterwards Saturn or Satan, we find that the sword guard is wrapped in prayer beads. Prayer beads only serve one purpose, and that's to count repetitive prayers. Both Islam and Catholicism share their love of prayer beads, which came from pagan traditions. On the guard of the sword in the middle, we can see the Babylonian sun wheel, and this goes back to Rome again and pagan worship. It's also known as the Wheel of the Year. And then we have the satellite dish with Wi-Fi and binary code. This seems to reflect our current state of Big Brother surveillance in some ways. And next we have the gears. The gears go back to time, and that goes back to Saturn. We also have a syringe to represent the scheme for their crown virus. Moving on from there, we have the date palm tree. And it's interesting, the Latin...
This is very interesting. This is a date palm tree. Listen to what he says.
Name for the date palm tree is the Phoenix dactylifera. When you look at all of the symbols on the sword, and so many of them have to do with technology, you may have been wondering to yourself, why is there a palm tree there? And I think I found the answer. It's not just a palm tree, it's a date palm. And what's most interesting about this is that the Latin term for the date palm is actually the Phoenix dactylifera. I believe that's why they put the date palm on the sword among all of the other symbols, showing us their end game. The eagle, sometimes the double-headed eagle, also the phoenix, is a symbol of great power and endurance. The Romans, the House of Habsburg, the House of Rothschild, the Nazis, and the United States have all used this symbol.
Donald Trump also has this symbol at his golf course, I believe in Scotland.
But more specifically to the phoenix itself, we find that symbolism popping up all over the place. The phoenix as a symbol itself has become a very common symbol for the New World Order, or for this beast system. This last decade has seen a real explosion in symbolism on everything. Movies, TV shows, corporate logos. All of it is coming to light now. In this beast system...
Okay. So I'm going to go into, I think there's 2 more clips on this. However, the phoenix, right? The birth and rebirth, rising from the ashes. How do you have something new come out of something old? You have to destroy it. You have to destroy the old to rebirth the new.
Is a symbol of chaos, total destruction, and then a rebirthing. A rising from the ashes. And this rising from the ashes, this phoenix, is the NWO itself, or that final Antichrist beast system.
Oh boy. It's getting jiggy with it.
But as we find with many symbols, they have multiple meanings. It's interesting to note that in Islam, they view the date palm as the tree of life. But in Judaism, the palm represents peace and plenty. And of course, there's also that connection between the tree of life and the Kabbalah. Also, the palm tree was a sacred sign of Apollo in ancient Greece. So of course we find Apollo. Apollo is the sun god. He's another representation of Lucifer, the sun god. Sun god, Lucifer, Satan, Saturn. Something else to consider, finding that palm tree symbol among all of the symbols of technology. Perhaps it's a nod to how they've been placing these 5G towers in these palm trees all around America. Also, looking back on the sword, we find satellite, 5G, Wi-Fi, NASA.
Now, there's no indication that it's 5G or that it's NASA. It's just a rocket and there's a satellite dish and then the Wi-Fi symbol. But sure, let's say it's 5G.
And all of those symbols are leading up to the dove that represents peace. I believe this harkens back to what the Bible says. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes. And lastly, we find all of this symbolism connected back to another example of the occult, or hidden in plain sight.
So look at this. This is the mural from the Denver International Airport. We have like this Nazi general with this scimitar sword killing the dove of peace. All right. Is this the Saturn that comes after the dove? And then you have, you know, children of all different colors here, all different races, being buried by their mothers. You have like these crying family members or crying mothers looking down on their children. And you have like war-torn buildings and whatnot, basically war. It's going to come and destroy. So what is this saying here?
The Denver International Airport murals. They've since covered up the Denver Airport murals, but you can still find pictures of them. These murals are another example of hidden in plain sight, also of lesser magic and predictive programming. So here we find this figure, and he has the eagle on his hat. In some ways, he's resembling a Nazi or fascism. He has the same sword from the coin, and we also find the dove here. Of course, in this mural, this figure is killing the dove or destroying peace. Right here on this mural, we can see the effects of the phoenix. Total chaos, total destruction, the death of peace. And then
walking through the darkness to get to the light. Am I right?
After peace comes Satan or Saturn. Just like money, just like all the symbols we see in movies and TV shows and corporate logos, their plans have been in front of our face all along. Steadily and more quickly now over this last decade, we're seeing all of these pieces come together and fall into place. Everything is moving quickly now towards the end game of this beast system. Total control and total enslavement of humanity. So now that you're seeing all of this right before your eyes, I hope you've made your choice.
Okay, and then he gets on the soapbox and all that stuff. So I just found that was very interesting. I mean, he kind of sums it up. Yes, he kind of gets a little out there, you know, the whole like palm tree thing, the 5G. I don't know. I don't know about those connections. So we're going to go back and play the clip 3 and 4 from Tom Horn. This is going to be talking about the mystical Jewish gematria, all this stuff.
You know, what are the mystical Jews saying? They're saying that the first day of Donald Trump's in office, following the inauguration, he turned 70 years and 7 months and 7 days old, 777. This in the Hebrew calendar year, 5777. They're also pointing out he's the 45th president. Of course, it's Isaiah 45. Discusses Cyrus the king. And these guys are strong believers in, we would call it biblical numerology, gematria. His name in the gematria of his name is 434, I believe, which is Messiah. How do they say it? Anyway, Messiah of the house of David.
Yeah, Moshiach ben David.
Right. Yeah. And so now they're very clear to say, this does not mean that we believe that Donald Trump is the Messiah, But rather, the way they explain it is he's like a forerunner. Think of him as almost kind of like a John the Baptist, right? That is paving the way, and that when the time is right, it will lead to the coming of Messiah.
So very interesting stuff. He's saying that, Donald Trump was anointed 70 years, 7 months, 7 days. We'll get into all of the 777 stuff, right? That's coming later. But he did talk about the rabbis meeting with Donald Trump, and he did say something about how Donald Trump's name actually adds up to 434, but it's actually 424. What he was talking about is gematria, like where A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3. You add all this up, and in Jewish gematria, Donald Trump equals 424. Messiah, son of David, also equals 424. In the first clip that Tom Horn was talking about, he mentions, a member of the Faith Council, an anonymous member, came forward and told Tom Horn that these rabbis were in the ear of Donald Trump, Jarod Kushner. They had a secret meeting. That meeting was recorded, and it's on a cell phone. And in that meeting, the rabbis tell Donald Trump, your name adds up to 424. That's not good. That's not great. That's like the Messiah. That's excellent. That's as best as you could be. It means the Messiah, son of David, our Messiah, and you have the same number. So let's get into this last clip here, Tom Horn.
These rabbis have become very, public.
Yes.
They're saying this stuff themselves. So whether a person would have believed it when they first read my book until today, things are changing very rapidly. And I do happen to believe that there is something to the number 70. We are in the 70th anniversary of the rebirth of the nation of Israel. Mm-hmm. Some people, read out of Psalms that a generation is 70 years, and so they see that connection too. Again, you go back, Cyrus the king, this was Israel under bondage to the Babylonians for 70 years until they are set free. You have Daniel the prophet in his 70 weeks, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Jesus prophesied that the second temple is going to be destroyed, and it's destroyed in 70 AD. So the stuff that is connected to Israel and to the Temple Mount in particular, somehow in the mind of God, this numerology does mean something. And of course, we know that even when the temple was built, it was very specific about length and width and, how each thing had to be laid out and built. And then some people see that in the book of Revelation, when John is ordered to measure the temple, that's actually also a reference to this end-time Great Tribulation period, also including a third temple.
This group of very religious people think that Donald Trump was sent here to fulfill a prophecy that will allow them to go worship in their temple again. Here is a little snippet here that kind of breaks down the connection between the Messiah, son of David, and Donald Trump. It's just saying, like, I don't know. You have to convert Donald Trump's name to Hebrew first, and then it equals 424, but Messiah, son of David, also equals 424, right? So, just interesting stuff. But here is the thread that I want to go through, right? This is a thread that is currently pinned on Donnie Darkin's X page. But it kind of it goes through the relationship that Donald Trump has with Israel. And you start out here. This was posted on July 21st, 2023. He's saying 6 days ago, Donald Trump was given the Torah crown by the Israel Heritage Foundation. Their mission statement is, quote, to await King David's descendant, or Messiah, to rule over the land and bring peace to all nations. Okay? Now here's a clip of Donald Trump receiving this Torah crown.
Okay. Give thanks to Hashem, for his work is good, his kindness endures forever. Presented to President Donald J. Trump for his extraordinary and heroic efforts to help the state of Israel and the Jewish people. He and his family should be blessed eternally. From the Israel Heritage Foundation, July 10th, 2023. I want to thank you.
And then, so I did actually watch that whole thing, and he's like, I better win. If I don't win, Israel's in trouble. We're going to have a lot of trouble here in Israel if I don't win. He's saying the same thing about America. So it's interesting seeing the correlation there. Here's the mission statement available on their website, being the Israel Heritage Foundation. What's interesting is that there are so many connections of Trump to this coming Messiah that it's difficult not to wonder why. It says right here, our mission, and then down at the end of the first paragraph, it says, the Jewish nation long awaits King David's descendant, our Messiah, to rule over the land again and bring peace to all nations. Rabbi Yosef Berger, who oversees the tomb of King David, is attempting to link Trump's genealogy to David's in order to prepare the way for the Messiah. This will establish that Trump is a candidate for the Messiah. Now, because the Messiah has to be a descendant of King David. All right. Rabbi Aryeh Deri says that Trump's election heralds the coming of the Messiah. That's a quote. Now, many may be thinking, how could Trump be the Jewish Messiah if he's not Jewish? The answer is King Cyrus. And then Donnie Darkin kind of talks about the King Cyrus coin with the third temple on the back of it. We've discussed this on the last episode. King Cyrus conquered Babylon and freed the Jews, allowing them to return home and build the second temple. On January 26, 2020, Lev Parnas and others told Trump that according to Jewish gematria, his name equals the same number as the Messiah, 424. This is the interesting conversation, and this was recorded on this phone. All right. But just to provide some context, I have this article talking about it. So in recording, Parnas and Fruman compare Trump to the Messiah. According to Jewish gematria numerology, Giuliani associates, so these are Giuliani's, Rudy Giuliani, his associates, explaining to Trump that his name adds up to 424. A secretly recorded video of a dinner with President Donald Trump, businessmen, and Rudy Giuliani associates Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman drew a parallel between the president and the Messiah. In the video, Trump can be heard telling an aide to take out then United States ambassador to Ukraine, Maria Yovanovitch, during a donor dinner in 2018 at the Trump International Hotel in Washington, D.C. Now, that is what this whole video was released for. It was released because of this whole Ukraine, Maria Yovanovitch, like Trump was telling an aide to take her out, right? Like, let's go ahead and take out Marina or Mary, whatever the hell her name is. But he's probably just saying, like, let's remove her from that position. Like, she doesn't need to be the ambassador anymore. Like, maybe she's compromised. But that's why this initial recording came out. But the interesting thing is it comes later in the recording where they're like telling him, hey, dude, like, you're like equal to the Messiah here. The video was released on Saturday by Joseph Bondi, the lawyer representing Parnas in the campaign finance violations against blah, 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 blah. Near the end of the 80-minute cell phone recording of the dinner, reported to have been attended by the donors to the America First Action Supreme PAC, blah, blah, blah. Parnas presents to Trump what he says is a gift from the head rabbi of Ukraine. Isn't that interesting? The head rabbi of Ukraine is presenting a gift to Donald Trump. Now, why would he do that? You know, some rabbis and some rabbis in Israel. So it wasn't just a gift from the head rabbi in Ukraine. I guess it was some rabbis in Israel, too. He explains that according to Jewish numerology known as gematria, the letters in Trump's name adds up to 424, which is the same total as the Messiah. The gift, which apparently refers to the numerology, cannot be seen on the recording, so it's not clear what it was. It's like a miracle, Fruman is heard telling Trump on the recording. Parnas goes on to explain that the Messiah is, quote, the person that has come to save the whole world. So it's like you're the savior of the Ukraine, end quote. When it is clear that Trump does not understand the significance of the numerology, and you can hear that on the video we're going to play, or the Messiah, Parnas tells him to ask Jarod Kushner about it, saying that Kushner, quote, will explain it to you, unquote. Now, let's get back to the video, and we can play this for you so you can hear it. It is hard to hear, so just letting you know there's a lot of noise going on because it's like a dinner, all right?
Subject, I have a little something. It's a little present. The head rabbi of Ukraine. They want you to mail and some of the rabbis in Israel. They want everybody at this table. Thankful for what you do. They don't understand the cost of it because they're inefficient. In the Hebrew religion, they wait for the Messiah to come. Wow. So the Messiah, Moshe ben David, if you take their name, you see where it adds up 424. If you take your name, Donald Trump, and then there's your name, it adds up to 424. It's something that is very unbelievable. What does that mean?
It's like...
See, it's unbelievable, man, but you can hear Donald Trump saying, what's that mean? I don't get it. What is the significance of this?
You have the same numbers than my Messiah, you know?
Meaning good, right?
Yeah, it's like not good. It's like best. It's like miracle.
Why 424?
It's like name of Messiah. You know?
That's his name, Messiah. The Messiah comes out to 424. What are the numbers you have? No, it's not the number.
It's exactly the number.
Your name, and the numbers, it adds up to his name. It's 424 in the Jews. So it's like Messiah is the person that's come to save the whole world. So it's like you're the savior of being good. That's for you a blessing.
It's amazing. We just thought we're like, wow. It's amazing, you know.
It can't hurt. It can't hurt.
So, all Jew people of Ukraine, they're praying of you. You know, they're like.
Show it to Jarod. He'll explain. Good. Great.
It's like.
Is she going to Israel on the 14th? Yeah. Is she going to go head up?
Okay. So yeah, show it to Jarod. But so that's the thing is like Donald Trump does not seem privy to this information. He's like, what does this mean? What are you talking about? 424. What? So that's good? Like, okay. Well, so that means that I mean the same number as the savior? So maybe Donald Trump has no idea about any of this stuff. Right? However, some of his policies, you look at his free speech policies that he's been writing and his connections and his son-in-law, Jarod Kushner. You know, there's a lot of, the Abraham Accords, all that stuff. There's a lot of connections with Trump and Israel, all right? What's very interesting, Trump would become the first sitting president ever to touch Israel's holy site, the Western Wall. Now, we discussed that the Western Wall, the Wailing Wall, is a part of the Second Temple that was destroyed. It's the only remaining, it's the remnant of the Second Temple. And what is absolutely insane, this could be a coincidence in just different time zones and whatnot, you know what I mean? But I found that this was very interesting. When Donald Trump was visiting the wall, the time goes to 4:24 p.m. at the exact moment that Trump touches the wall. All right? So watch this. This is a clip from CNN. Right before Trump goes to touch the wall, the time changes to 4:24. All right? It's 4:23 right now.
Saudi Arabia, which is also notable as he walks by himself up to the Western Wall. Let's listen.
Right, and he's touching the wall, doing all stuff. But it's literally right as he goes to touch it. Look. Time changes right before his fingers touch that wall. Very insane. Or it's just a coincidence. Who the hell knows, you know? It's one of those things. Before we go any further, I'm going to end it right here because we still have quite a bit to go over. There's a lot more of the whole just generic gematria, prophetic numerology, Donald Trump's ties to number 33, you know, Freemason. I don't know if he's a Freemason. Is that bad? Is that good? I don't know. But his ties to the number 666, 9/11, there's just a lot to dive into, okay? Now, I know this train keeps on rolling, but there's a lot to cover, limited amount of time. So I appreciate everybody for joining in. If you do like this episode, make sure to like, subscribe, do all the things that'll help out this channel grow. Download the episode on Apple, Spotify, you name it. Wherever you want to listen to it, just go ahead and download it. It helps me out tremendously. All right? So what do you guys think? Do you think that there's something here? Do you think that Trump is part of this plan over in Israel to bring forth this temple? Because the red heifers are going to be sacrificed soon. I don't know what'll happen. I don't know if that will spark war. I don't know if that will spark some sort of conflict over there. there already is. So it's just like, are they going to push these buttons? And what happens if they do? Okay. So let's keep an eye on it. When we come back next time, we'll talk more about Trump and just straight up numerology. We'll get into it right away. Okay. No more of this mumbo jumbo Tom Horn getting into video clips and stuff. We'll just dive right into the fun numerology gematria stuff. So thank you so much for joining the show. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you do, hit the like button, leave me a comment. I read all the comments. If you have anything to add, let me know. I can include it in the next episode. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. Thank you for everything that you guys do. And until next time, everybody, stay steamy.